everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm sharing with you one of my favorite money saving tips when I'm spooling fishing reels, either brand new or just refilling them with high-end fluorocarbon line or braid. Or maybe you're really thrifty and use this tip to save money on your cheap monofilament line. This is something that I do with every reel, pretty much, and it's saved me a lot of money over the years. Now, I ain't saying that you need high-end fluorocarbon line. I'm not saying you need high-end line at all. For years, we've all been getting around pretty well with cheap monofilament for decades. There are cheaper fluorocarbon lines out there, but for the really skimpers like me, I enjoy using high-end fluorocarbon, but I like to save money too. So, seems counterintuitive, right? Well, I'm here to fix that. There's a few tips that I'm going to share with you. Number one is it's probably best to buy your line in bulk spools. These are 660 yards of sniper and shooter fluorocarbon over the standard filler spools. This happens to be 165 yards of 18-pound sniper versus the 660 yards of 18-pound sniper. Number two is to buy line when it goes on sale. Usually, you know, there's multiple sales throughout the year. Tackle Warehouse is pretty good about having line on sale during the holidays, and Christmas and whatnot. And then Omnia, which I buy a lot of stuff from, they have staffers that have or influencers that give out monthly codes to save you money. And then number three is what I'm going to show you, and that is to make this bulk spool or your filler spool up more than one reel or two reels. Well, in the case of bulk spools, get more spools to line up. A couple things we're going to need is some space in the backyard. If not, there is a different way you can do this with a line counter, but I'm not going in details with that because this is the method that I use. You're going to need your line that you're going to put on, and then you're going to need some cheap filler line. I suggest going to Walmart, picking up some cheap Eva Gold Claw or a Zebco line. It's like $3 for a 800 to 1600 yard spool. You're going to need your scissors, some tape, your measuring tape, obviously your reels, and that's pretty much it. Let's go outside and I'll show you how I go about this. But before we do, make sure you hit that like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more tips like this. So I'm going to explain my backyard setup here. I got a lawn chair, folding lawn chair on a tipped upside down, and then I got some dog weaving poles out there that I use for my dogs to train with, etc. But that's what we're going to use. As long as you can use anything you want, as long as it's smooth and ain't going to rough up your line. The idea is to maximize the amount of refills or reels that we can spool up with this spool of line. It doesn't matter if it's a filler spool or a bulk spool. There's a magic number that you can use that will leave the minimum amount of line left on this spool, where you obviously won't have enough line to re-spool a full line or a reel full of line. So my magic number for most lines is 7, for most spools is 70 to 75 yards. That's more line that you'll ever need to make a cast, be able to count for break-offs, retie for multiple trips. Now, in this case 660 yards, it's nine reels is what I'm aiming to get out of this spool, which equates to, so we take 660 yards, divide that by 9, it comes out to 73.25 yards. We then times that by 3. That means that comes to 219 feet, and we can do one of two things. We can either measure out 219 feet one way and measure out that way, or if you're limited on space like I kind of am, we take that number and divide that by 4. In this case, it comes to 54.75 feet per. So that's the distance between this pole and those poles. And we're going to do that. We're going to tape the line right here, run down and wrap it around the pole, come back, wrap it back around here, run back, and then end off and cut off at that spoon there. That'll have our 73 yards worth of line. So let's go ahead and do that quick and get back to it. Okay, so it's at this point where you're going to just wrap the line around here, tape it off with a piece of tape, stick a screwdriver through the spool reel here quick, and then all we're going to do is basically walk it off. Here, wrap it around the pole, walk on back. Get back here, wrap it around. Go back to the poles again. Wrap it around. All right, and then we're going to pull tight, and then we are going to take our scissors wherever I put them. Oh, here we are. And we are going to cut it off right there. All right. Then we're going to grab our rod and reel, and I'll attach the line. Now, it's important at this point here that we ran our line down our rod guides, got through. We are not going to immediately tie our knot to the reel spool. We're instead, especially on our lighter lines, because we're going to need to add filler. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take a piece of tape and tape that line to the spool like so. And then we're just going to slowly fill that spool up. We're going to walk it back. Keeping tension on the line the entire time, so that way we get a nice tight wind. Helps with you when you got a long rod. And we're just going to slowly but surely fill this reel spool up. And it's actually looking like we're not going to need hardly any filler at all. Now we get to the point where we got line at the end of the where we can tie off, and that actually is just about correct, the correct amount of line for this particular reel. We could obviously go a little bit more And that, I think I'm going to just leave it as is. I'm not quite, in reality, this 20-pound line pretty much fills up this entire spool from empty with no issues. So in this case, what we're going to have to do is, because we're not going to be able to add any filler to it, we're going to back it off and then tie our line directly to the spool again. I'll do another reel here where we're going to absolutely have to refill this spool, add filler spool. So let's go ahead and jump to that here real quick. So as you can see, we got a different reel, 12-pound shooter this time. And as you can probably see, we're not quite to the top of the rim there that we need to be. So what are we going to do? We're going to add some filler. So we're going to go over here, take our cheap Walmart line, and we're just going to make a simple knot because we'll never get to it in the first place. I kind of like to do something like a Alberto knot, but just not with as many wraps. Generally 3 up, or 3 or 4 down, and then 4 back up will be enough. So we got that. Go through, wet it, and pull it tight. That'll make a small connection knot there. Trim the tag ends. As close as possible. And then we're just going to wind on the rest of the amount here that we need. Ah, come on. It's not very scientific here, but come on. Get to about where it's got a little bit of a gap yet. It's just reaching the rim there. We can actually probably peel some off because we got to adjust for the length of the rod. Actually, we're going to peel some more off just to be safe. And then what we're going to do is pretty much the exact opposite. Just cut. Wrap this around here. Tape it back up. And then put in freeze. Okay, now that we got the cheap monofilament tied back onto the spool, then it's just a matter of redoing it, rewinding it back on. Up. There's our tag in. And yeah, end up with a pretty close to full spool. So I hope that helped you out and will hopefully save you guys money when you decide to spool up with some high quality fluorocarbon, braid, or monofilament. It does seem like a lot of pain effing around for the most part, for lack of a better term. But once you get the line on there and the filler line on there, as long as you don't change the brand or the size pound test of line, you never have to redo it again. You never have to do it ever again. Just on these reels here, I was changing line size completely, so I had to redo it completely. Like I said, do it once and then you're all done. Never have to do it again until you decide to put 18 pound on versus 12 pound on. There you have it. See you guys on the next step. Later.